Pleased to meet you. This is Fixed and Folded, the knife review channel for the casual knife collector. I'm Cody. Tommy is behind me somewhere on his cat tree. And I'm going to be doing a review of the 2025 version of the Kizer Begleiter XL. I've had multiple color versions of the Begleiter XL in the past. I had the plain blade and the brown micarta, and I've had this color version also. I got about 2 years ago. And they were just, the handle was a little bit too plain, and for some reason, it's a great knife, but it just, I liked other knives more, so I rotated it out. But kept thinking about it as it's a good knife, and I like this size, and handled the 2025 version in the store, and there's a couple changes that I really like, and was enough for me to buy one. So I'll just show you the changes. So this is the last generation Begleiter XL. This is your brown micarta and your plain beautiful tumble finish blade. The difference on the front is just the branding location. You've got your Kizer logo and your Kizer there, where here you just have the name, and you've got some details. You've got the 154 cm and some serial number up in that nook there, where there's nothing on this side, and then spin it around and you have some more branding on the inside there, where here you have on the blade it says Azo Begleiter XL 154 cm. I mean, they're equal to me. I think they both look good, but that's the difference up front. And then on the handle, the texture is the same, all the dimensions are the same, but you have a nice sort of a coil spring pattern on the sanding. See, there's a nice sanding pattern on both sides of the 2025 edition, where the other outgoing edition is just plain. And it's like this also on the previous edition of the green micarta and the black, what do they call that? Do they call this a tumble finish? Black wash, called a black wash finish. Anyway, so the outgoing model is just plain. And this is just enough of a detail, visual detail, to keep this from looking too boring. And that's all it took for me to resonate with this again. There's so many good qualities of this design. So this is a button lock with a flipper tab and thumb studs, and all three methods of actuation are well balanced, well designed. You can thumb flick it here, slow roll. The placement of the thumb studs is good. You have chamfering in your finger rest area nicely to access the thumb studs. The button is pronounced enough that it's easy to access, and you have a nice cutout in the micarta to aid in access. And it's pretty flush with the handle when the blade is in the safe position, and once you've engaged it, it pops out to make it easy to access, to put it back in its safe position. The angle of the flipper tab lends itself not to push buttoning, but to light switching, and works very well. You can see I'm straight up here, so it's got a nice smooth action, and now the flipper tab acts as a finger rest for the choke up position, which is a really nice design. You have a full area to choke up with the finger to get more control, fine control over the blade. The only other difference is you got the Kizer logo on the pocket clip, where here it's plain. Everything else is carried over. So you get this great action, great size, good balance of pocket carry with secure grip. The dimensions are such that it is basically, think of it as like a bug out, but in XL size and with a more generous handle width. But the profile is reminiscent of Benchmade bug out. The blade geometry is good for performance, for piercing and slicing. It's a high flat grind. Just 1/10 of the blade is unsharpened at the top, and then you have a unsharpened swedge tapering down to the point. This nice drop point. It's just above, the point is just above the pivot. And you have a good balance shape where you do have a bit of belly, you've got a long flat, and you have a nice usable point. It almost goes down to a needle point. It tapers in the last third down to a fine point. 154 cm blade. This is black wash with your green micarta handle scales. It's a fine texture, fine, medium, and coarse. This is fine. There's a little bit of texture, and has a nice little, there's a little sparkle. There's some little sparkles in the handle as well as with the outgoing version. If you look in the light, just something, a little Easter egg to find that people don't notice right away. I like this all hardware all blacked out. You've got these shadow boxed liners that protrude a little tiny bit over the handles, and I find them completely comfortable. The only jimping is at the business end of the flipper tab right here and along the first third of the spine of the blade. And it is almost like a file pattern, but medium. It's medium traction. You do get some traction. Good for saber grip and usable for draw cutting. Also, with the choke up position, you can rest your thumb on the jimping there. So yeah, that will aid in stability when you're doing choke up things. Got this nice little slash there in the blade cutting edge design. You got a sharpening choil, and the cutting edge is even on both sides from the box. Performance was good, slicing, piercing out of the box. I have been in the habit of just lightly stropping all my knives. Once I get them, I'll test them on some receipt paper first, and then I'll see if I can't improve that push cutting with a little bit of stropping on a leather strop with some 20,000 grit, 30,000 grit strop compound. And now with some light stropping, I'll show you how this performs with some receipt paper. It's good. Happy with that. The blade was a little bit off center, just a tiny bit, and I tried to alter the angle of the blade by adjusting the pivot tension, but it actually doesn't, it's just stayed in its position. And I can try some things if I want to get it perfectly centered by loosening the body screws and then retightening and loosening, but then I run the risk of it actually going off center even more to the other direction, and I'm happy with it how it is. It's not going to be rubbing up against the frame on either side. You can see there's space on that side, space on that side of the blade, and I mean, I'm being real finicky. It's about 0.5 millimeter to one direction. It's so minor that I'm going to leave it. The outgoing model, for example, this one's perfect. And this one came with no button stick. You can't, as I'm dropping it, you can't hear any of the tension for the button to release. Whereas this one has some button stick, but it's pleasant. It like pops through. It's like crispy. Hear that? And I like it. I like them both. The action. This one is perfectly smooth, and this one has a bit, just has a little bit to overcome on that initial push. But the amount that the button lock locks the blade is quite good. I gotta say 40%. You got 40% blade lockup. You see where that is? Right there. Let's see, as I push it out, you can see where in there. Got about 40% blade lockup there, which is that's very nice. The shape of the thumb stud is pretty blocky, just at the end, tapers down, and I like it. It works for the dimensions of the knife. I wouldn't change the shape of the thumb studs for this knife. And to deploy it with the button, super easy, and light switching this. So very well engineered deployment mechanisms and release mechanism. Pocket clip, very comfortable. The bottom of the pocket clip is not inset into the handle, but it hasn't caught on my pants when I use the clip. So, and the screws are flush with the bottom of the pocket clip. So snagging has not been an issue for me. It's not a full deep carry. This much pokes out. You have a T8 pivot screw. You have T10 body screws, and then T6 pocket clip screws, and it is an ambidextrous pocket clip, which is good for us left-handies. I'm ambidextrous, so I primarily keep knives in my right pocket, but I can also use it lefty. But that's always nice for a high volume selling knife that it accommodates 10% of the population of us lefties. Well, I'm also the 90% of righties, so. You have bearings, ball bearings for the pivot action, and they're absolutely free swinging. Kizer has some of the best action with bearings that I've experienced. The Escort, the Drop Bear come to mind as being fantastically easy to use and fidgety when you want to fidget. Of course, there's many other Kizer models that are really well thought out and implemented too. So you've got a 4-inch blade stock with a 3.8-inch cutting edge, and you have 5 inches total handle length, total of 9 inches. And there is some chamfering. I don't know if it's chamfering, what you call it. When I think of chamfering, I'm thinking of contouring. Yes, chamfering. There's chamfering all around the handle with a little bit more in the finger rest area. Handle comfort is excellent. It feels a neutral, a little bit blocky. All the various hand positions are comfortable. Yep. It's a great knife. $149 Canadian. And I'm happy with that price for materials and the design. The weight is 5.1 ounces. So just getting into my heavy category, but for a knife of this size, this is a large knife. That's good. That's good. It does not feel heavy in the hand. So 5.1 ounces for a 9-inch long total knife is good. You've got some skeletonizing, you've got some holes milled out in both of the steel liners. And it feels solid. I don't know if there's a tiny bit of flex if I force it, but if I'm just using one hand, it feels nice and solid. For someone with large and bigger, extra large double XL gloves, they're going to like the size of this. This will pass my pocket test. I have 5.5-inch deep front pockets in my 511 strike pants, and I can feel the knife is in there, but it's comfortable and it's nice and easy to get to without using the pocket clip. Just reach in there with my fingers and grab it. Yeah, I mean, now that there's just a little bit of finishing detail in the handle sanding, I'd say this is going to be an evergreen knife for Kizer. The Begleiter XL and the Begleiter, the normal Begleiter button lock, which is just a little bit shorter than this, maybe half an inch. I think it's probably 8.5 inches total for the Begleiter normal. Those are both evergreens. I think they're going to be high volume sellers for Kizer for a long time, because it's just a useful, well thought out EDC design. Could you use this as a work knife? I think you could. Because the blade stock thickness is medium for a knife of this size. And Kizer does a good heat treat on its steels. 154 cm. It's a stainless. Edge retention is okay. Toughness is okay. And just if you're using it for a work knife, strop it, or even depending on how much use you're putting it through, do a light sharpening at the end of every day, and it should be a good work knife for you. But because of the button lock and the relatively lightweight for its size, this is more, I would say, to be either a camp knife, like a backup camp knife for meal prep and whatever, or a large EDC knife. I'd say that is the main purpose for the knife. Could this be a tactical knife too? Yes. Blade's pretty long, good at piercing, good slicing. Can you do some surviving with this? Maybe for one day. With button locks, I don't think they're going to be as durable as like a triad lock or even a nice thick liner lock or like a frame lock. I would say don't take this out as your only knife if you're planning to do survival stuff with this. And I'm talking about like batoning and you know, putting shock onto the locking mechanism. But if you're just going to be cutting with it, you know, survival as like cutting a rope or, you know, processing meat or defense, yeah, you can use this. But primarily not so much. I don't think the design is primarily to be a work knife. I'd say this is a large EDC knife. Can you do heavy duty work with this? Yes, I think you could. I'd say this excels at up to medium duty. And yeah, for that purpose, up to medium duty, large EDC knife, this is great. $149 Canadian. Definitely, if the design interests you, if you have $150 Canadian in your pocket that you can afford and you don't have this knife already, go try and handle one and decide if it resonates with you. This one resonates with me. The outgoing one, a little too plain, just a little bit too, not enough character visually, but I do love the tumble finish. Yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I'll do a quick size comparison here. So we start with the medium sized knife. I have extra large gloves, hands. Could fit all my fingers on here. Go one size up. This is my custom handle Benchmade readout. This is the same size as the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. A little bit larger than a Benchmade Griptilian. A little bit larger than a Spyderco Tenacious. And you go up a size, a little bit more hand area, a little bit more blade length. And the length is the same as my Recon M1. But this is more, you can do more heavy duty design, thicker handle, thicker blade stock, more durable spine lock, and a higher price. But you pay more, you get more. With this one, you're getting sort of in between this and this, right? In terms of, well, size, but okay, this is less expensive than a readout, but this is going to be, yeah, up to medium duty EDC. This as well. You get a bit more length out of it. Just decide if this visually resonates with you. Check one out. I'm going to give it some high out of 10. Boy. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything about this for its intended purpose of a large EDC knife. Okay, that concludes my review of the 2025 version Kizer Begleiter XL button. Have a great night, and I will see you soon.